Hello, welcome to my presentation. This is just kind of a visual image and an audio about my proposal for the dissertation research. The proposed title is The Search for Time-Saving Transformations to Encourage University Faculty Members' Adoption of Technology-Enhanced Learning for Higher Education. So I'm going to talk to you about the research problem, the literature, deficiencies, significance of the study, the purpose of the research, research questions, key phenomena or variables, and research expectations. So academic teaching staff, they spend their time between three activities: teaching, service, and research. Higher education institutes and governments are advocating for a change from traditional teaching and learning methods. That's more like sage on the stage. And they want to advocate more as guide on the side per King 1993. And this is using technology-enhanced learning practices. So one of the main barriers to adoption of technology or technology-enhanced learning, as reported in the literature, is a lack of time. So actually, as an academic teaching faculty member, you are very busy. You're constantly using your brain to handle the students, to do research, to go to meetings, to fill out paperwork, etc. So the literature that I want to start with is Chickering and Gameson. This is one of my favorite literatures. It was from 1987, and he's advocating 7 principles for good practice in undergraduate education. And the one I want to really focus on today is the emphasis of time on task, because this is how we can use technology. So some barriers to adoption of technology from the literature. Well, Artmarsh, 1999, she talks about first order barriers like lack of computers, lack of faculty support for using technology in the classrooms, the Wi-Fi infrastructure, also time spent developing and designing materials and spending time training, support for that, and second order barriers such as like actually how the faculty members are thinking about teaching. Like maybe they think, well, I had to read 200 pages and sit and listen to my professor, and that's how I got through university, so that's how my students are going to do it. Well, these are some changes that are second order barriers, kind of like the way we perceive teaching methods, etc. So Beggs, he did a study on higher education faculty members in the United States, and he found that 70% of faculty reported that it was a very important influence or critically important influence, that the time that you need to learn a new barrier is top. So King and Boyat, they identified the need for administrative support to encourage faculty to develop their skills and knowledge of teaching enhanced or technology enhanced learning practices. So academic faculty, they also report that their workload management is increasingly becoming stressful and complicated, and actually normally you think you just have teaching, service, and research, but nowadays we also have many other responsibilities such as recording evidence, administrative work, communicating with different colleagues and students. So additional empirical evidence shows that initially the transformation of courses takes more time out of your workload, but overall the workload will be alleviated as those practices are set up. So one of my kind of fundamental literatures for this study is Gregory and Lodge 2015, and they actually identify the silent barrier to technology adoption of workload, because they're like saying that faculty members, they're the ones that actually have to do the work. We got to like do the training, we have to play around with it, learn new technologies, think of ways to apply them with sound pedagogical practices for the students. And actually, there's just like not enough time to do that, because as a faculty member, I'm actually having a greater benefit from spending my time doing research, because research is what's going to further my career. So in order to kind of like help faculty members, well, they are recommending to give them more time or time out of their workload in order to develop, implement, evaluate, and review technology enhanced kind of practices and initiatives, and it needs to be incentivized in a positive way. So my research study has 2 phases. The first phase is looking at the institutional level, what's going on with respect to workload, pedagogy, teaching pedagogies, and technology. Phase 2 are the perceptions at the individual level. This is looking on a smaller scale, small groups and interviews. So the first stage is a quantitative data collection. This is a mixed methods research study. So I'm going to send a survey instrument to the target population of the university academic teaching staff. Phase 2 is the qualitative data collection, and that will be gathered before, during, and after the professional development training. So we'll talk more about the training in a minute. That's going to be gathered the collection of data from interviews and focus groups and analyzed using a thematic analysis. So the deficiency from the literature is there's lots of literature about influences and barriers to technology adoption. However, this one is very unique because it focuses on one barrier, which is time. So the significance of the study, actually the significance of this action, well, this will eventually develop into action research, which will actually help the faculty members to develop some tools and to have a resource for identifying time-saving technology-enhanced learning practices. So actually there's also this transformation of moving from transmittal or traditional learning to facilitating action learning or more of a constructive learning method. A federal initiative is going on also at the research site in the country, which is the Mohammed bin Rashid Smart Learning Program, and this is advocating integration of technology in the classroom and an active learning approach. And then finally, this will also support the research site's educational mission change. They have now looked from a teaching university focus, and now they're moving to one of research. So the intervention is the professional development training workshop, and this will take place in phase 2. And this will be a consultative approach as indicated from some literatures. And here we have developing the goal of making a mixed media open resource for time-saving technology-enhanced learning practices. The purpose of this research is to explore academic teaching staff's perception of the relationship between workload pedagogy and technology, and then implement and evaluate a professional development training workshop that aims to develop a pedagogical multimedia resource for using technology-enhanced learning for time-saving teaching practices in a non-tenured higher educational institute in the Middle East. So these are my research questions. What is the perceived academic teaching staff's workload with respect to teaching and service? How can academic teaching staff use of pedagogy and technology be described? That's from phase 1. Phase 2 is how can the Center for Technology and Learning support the university's mission change? What is the impact of professional development for technology enhanced learning on the staff's perceived time allocated for teaching activities? Then in which ways are trainings for technology integration that are targeted towards time-saving activities helpful for faculty members or effective for them to save time? So here's some important definitions. The first one was technology enhanced learning. The second one is professional development training. And then teaching activities is adapted from Schoenberg 2012. She did an investigation into learning management systems and their use on certain teaching activities. The expectations for this research study are to find out approximately how much time academic staff think or perceive that they are using on teaching activities. And I am going to estimate that they're spending 75 to 80% of their time doing teaching activities. The other component of the research is understanding which technologies are being used. So I'm pretty sure that the virtual learning system, or the learning management system, the Blackboard, is being heavily utilized by staff. However, the smartboard, we have smartboards in most of the classes, so I'm thinking that the smartboard is probably being used 50 to 60% of the time. However, different types of teaching apps or communication apps I think are being underutilized. We also have a lot of hardware available, like recording studios, and there are all kinds of lab equipments depending on the science discipline that I'm sure are being grossly. Thank you so much for listening. Sorry it's a little over the time. It's just a lot to talk about. I do want to show you my references, and here they are. And they are the same references that I used for my proposal. So if you want to look at them in detail, you can look at them there.